The city moved fast, yet Alex felt slower every day. He woke before sunrise, rushed through coffee, joined the endless stream of cars and stared at the clock that ruled his hours. He worked hard, harder than most, but something inside him whispered that he was trading the wrong thing. One evening, after another long day that dissolved into nothing, he found himself sitting in a quiet cafe at the edge of the city. That was where he met Mr. Harris, a man in his 60s whose calm presence seemed untouched by the rush around them. Alex noticed the old man reading a small leather-bound notebook. It looked worn but loved, and every few moments Mr. Harris would smile as if the page had spoken to him. Alex, curious and tired of silence, asked what he was reading. Mr. Harris looked up, his eyes gentle, and said, "I am reading my diary of time. Every page reminds me how I once wasted it and how I learned to value it." Alex smiled politely, not sure what to make of it. Mr. Harris gestured to the empty chair and said, "Sit, young man. You look like someone who spends time the way others spend money, without keeping track." They sat in comfortable quiet for a moment before Alex admitted he felt trapped. He said he worked more hours now than ever but never felt richer. It seemed the harder he worked, the less time he had to enjoy what little he earned. Mr. Harris nodded as if he had heard this story 1,000 times. "That is because you are using the wrong currency," he said. "You think you are spending money, but you are spending life." Alex frowned. "I work to make money, not to spend life," he said, but the old man leaned forward slightly. "Every coin you earn costs you hours, every bill you spend represents a piece of your life exchanged for someone else's purpose. Money can be regained, but the minutes you trade are gone forever." The cafe was quiet except for the soft sound of cups and murmured talk. Alex felt something shift inside him, like a curtain pulling open to show a simple truth. He asked, "So how do I change that?" Mr. Harris smiled and said, "You learn to see time as the real currency of wealth. The rich are not those with the most money, but those with the most control over how their time is spent." That night Alex walked home slower than usual. The streetlights painted long shadows, and for the first time he noticed how each step carried the weight of a second that would never return. He began to wonder how much of his life had been spent earning, how much had been lost worrying, and how little had been invested in living. The next morning at work he watched his co-workers. They moved quickly, typing, calling, nodding, repeating the same words each day. Everyone seemed busy, but few seemed alive. He saw Myra cross the room, focused on her screen, her eyes heavy from too many late nights. During lunch, he told her about his conversation with Mr. Harris. She laughed gently, saying, "That sounds nice, but time does not pay the bills." Alex agreed, but something about the old man's words refused to leave his mind. A week later, Alex returned to the cafe. Mr. Harris was there again, sipping tea, writing in his notebook. Alex thanked him for the conversation but said he still did not understand. The old man asked, "How many hours do you work each week?" Alex said, "Around 60. "And how much do you keep for yourself?" Alex thought for a while before answering, "Maybe 5, maybe 10. Mr. Harris nodded. "You see the problem. You spend the majority of your time building someone else's dream. That is not wealth, it is quiet debt, and time is the interest you pay." He told Alex a story from his own life. When he was young, he too worked constantly. He believed that effort alone would bring freedom, but when he finally had money, he was too tired to enjoy it. His children had grown, his health had faded, and his memories were filled with the hum of fluorescent lights and the weight of missed sunsets. It was only when he lost everything in a market crash that he understood time was the real fortune he had squandered. Alex listened, moved by the honesty. He asked, "So what did you do then?" Mr. Harris smiled and said, "I learned to measure my wealth in hours of peace. I built small systems that earned money while I rested, invested in things that grew while I slept, and slowly bought back my time." Those words stayed with Alex. He began studying how people used time differently. He noticed how wealthy people did not rush. They moved with intention, not speed. They spent mornings thinking, not reacting. They made money work for them because they had first learned to control their hours. The poor, on the other hand, spent time to save money, while the wealthy spent money to save time. One afternoon, Maya told Alex she had been offered a second job. The pay was good, but it would mean giving up her weekends. Alex remembered Mr. Harris's words and asked her, "What will that job really cost you?" She said, "It will cost me time, but I can handle it." He asked again, "But time for what? For rest, for family, for yourself?" She hesitated. That night she turned down the offer, unsure if she had made the right choice. But in the weeks that followed, she found herself calmer, more focused, more creative at work. Opportunities began appearing naturally, and for the first time she felt that her time was creating value instead of being consumed by effort. Alex also began shifting his habits. He woke earlier but spent the first hour not on emails or messages but on thinking. He mapped his goals, scheduled deep work sessions and limited distractions. He began to see time as a flow, not a container. Each moment was either an investment or an expense. Slowly, he noticed his stress fading. He was working smarter, not longer. Months later, he met Mr. Harris again, this time on a park bench near the river. The old man looked at the water and said, "Time is like this river. You cannot stop it, but you can decide where you stand in relation to it. Some people drown trying to hold it, others sail by learning how to move with it. The difference is awareness." Alex asked, "So how do I master it?" Mr. Harris replied, "You cannot master time, but you can align with it. You can fill your days with actions that compound, relationships that matter, and habits that expand your freedom instead of shrinking it." He told Alex that the greatest investors were not those who beat the market, but those who understood compounding in life. Every book read, every skill learned, every hour spent wisely grows into exponential returns. Time rewards those who respect its flow. As they talked, the sun began to set, golden light reflecting off the water. Mr. Harris closed his notebook and said, "Most people wait until the end to realize the price they have paid. Do not wait. Every hour you own is a chance to buy back your freedom." That night, Alex wrote his own note in a small journal. He wrote, "My real income is measured in hours of purpose, not dollars of pressure." Years passed and Alex's life changed in ways he could not have predicted. He left his job and built a small business that grew steadily, not rapidly. He hired people, but he also gave them flexibility and time. He remembered the feeling of burnout and never wanted to pass that cost to others. Maya became a partner in his venture, leading creative projects that aligned with her passions. They were not the richest in town, but they had something far more valuable: control over their days. One afternoon, while reviewing some notes, Alex realized something. The moment he stopped chasing money and started managing time, his life began to balance itself. He finally understood what Mr. Harris meant when he said wealth is the ability to spend your time as you choose. He visited the cafe again years later, but Mr. Harris was no longer there. The owner said he had moved away, leaving behind the small notebook. Inside, Alex found a final line written in careful handwriting. It read, "When you truly understand time, you stop counting it and start living it." Alex closed the book and smiled. The cafe was different now, busier, louder, but he sat in the same chair and felt a quiet gratitude for every hour he had reclaimed. He realized the true richness of life was not in possessions or numbers, but in the depth of each moment. He watched the people rushing outside, the endless rhythm of modern life, and for a second he wished he could tell them all what he had learned. But perhaps he thought, everyone must meet their own Mr. Harris. Everyone must discover in their own way that time is the real currency. He finished his tea, stood up and stepped out into the fading light. The air felt different, slower, alive. He walked home without checking the clock. For the first time in his life, he was not running late for anything. He was exactly on time. And so the truth remains, silent but powerful. Money can be lost and regained, but time only moves forward. The wise trade it carefully, the foolish spend it blindly. Every choice, every habit, every moment is an exchange. And the greatest form of wealth is not having more money but having more control over how your time is lived. Because in the end, time is not what we use to chase wealth. Time is what wealth is meant to protect. This is Strategic Wealth Mindsets.